Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode here on MIgardener. I'm so excited to bring to you this episode because it's another growing guide on a very commonly requested growing guide, and that is on peas. This is going to apply to all of your pea varieties, so no matter if it's a snap pea, a snow pea, just a pea pod variety, I don't know what you're growing, but if you're growing it, it's going to apply to this episode here. I personally like to grow the pea pods simply because there's a lot more uses for them, and if you want to let them grow out and harvest the peas, that's still an option. But oftentimes if you get just a regular, one of the pea varieties, those peas are the only thing that you're going to get because the pods themselves get very hard and stringy, and they're not very good unless you harvest them very early, in which you're wasting kind of a harvest. So what I like to do is I like to go with a really versatile variety. This is a little marvel pea, and I'm telling you, it is such a sweet pea. It is so delicious. I've used it in salads, and I've also used it in stir fries. I've also let it get larger to harvest just the peas from them, and there is no comparison to any other variety in my opinion. I love it. I grow it every single year. Now, how I grow it. A lot of people always ask me, do you start from seed or do you start from a start? I personally, and this is personal preference, so it's not going to matter what you want to start with, but I personally start in ground. The reason being is you can get a healthier plant, and this applies to any vegetable really. I think it's always smart to start from seed if at all possible, simply because when you start anything from seed at all, when it's growing in the soil and it's growing in those growing conditions from the point it sprouts to the point it matures, it can readily acclimate a lot easier to those growing conditions, because oftentimes when you get them from a greenhouse, they're given ideal conditions with ideal temperatures and ideal soil, and maybe not ideal fertilizer, but they're given a lot of fertilizer and they're growing nice and tall for you. You throw them in the ground here and it might be a little bit less than ideal, and you have something called transplant shock, and that is a gardener's worst nightmare because it doesn't necessarily affect the harvest. It can, but I find that doesn't really affect the harvest, but it affects the time till maturity. And when it comes to pea plants, there is nothing more crucial than the time to maturity, simply because it's one of those fringe plants. And by a fringe plant, I'm talking about the fact that it's not really a early spring vegetable, and it's not really a summer vegetable. It's a little bit in between, and that gray area is where the timing is so crucial, simply because the temperature to grow these can't be super cold because they won't grow very fast, but it can't be really hot, otherwise you'll notice that they start to burn. So you have to be kind of somewhere in between, and that is just that perfect timing in between the transition from spring till summer, which is right now, and that's why you see these plants just loaded. They're taller than me, they're going to obviously be a bumper crop, but they are loaded with flowers, beautiful flowers, and with beautiful flowers you see beautiful vegetables coming right after. So I like to start mine from seed right in the ground because I can get an earlier start, and I just get a healthier plant in my opinion. Now, when it comes to fertilizing, I'm going to talk about fertilizing very briefly because so many people don't fertilize their pea plants. They think, oh, it's nitrogen fixing, it's going to fix its own nitrogen, it's going to grow well for you. However, with any nitrogen fixing plant, whether or not it's a bush bean, a pole bean, or a pea plant, or any of your legume family plants, fertilizing is still important, and I cannot stress that enough. Fertilizing is so important because the difference that you will have in your harvests, in your plant's health, and just the plant size is so uncomparable. I can't even tell you, it's unbelievable. Because I give mine a very nitrogen-rich fertilizer. I give them a 1-to-1 ratio of fish emulsion to blood meal. I put that in right when I plant, right into the planting hole. So when the seeds sprout, they're literally growing in that. I put that in their little trench when I plant them, and they simply use that as they grow. Then once they start flowering, I will also give them an additional nitrogen boost because I'm not concerned about the flowering. The flowering will happen naturally. It's not like a tomato where you have to stress the plant with phosphorus to get it to flower, or tell the plant to flower by using phosphorus. This one, This plant right here, the peas, you want to give them nitrogen. More. The more nitrogen, the better. And that means the taller, the greener the plant, and all along the stem, once it reaches a certain height and a certain age, it's going to set flowers regardless of how much phosphorus you have or not. And that's the miracle behind peas. That's why I love them. Another thing that I always consider is crucial, along with the temperature that we talked about earlier being in that fringe, is the sunlight. Here in Michigan, we get very sporadic temperatures. And a lot of that is obviously stemmed from the sun. Most of all of it is stemmed from the sun, to be honest. But when it comes to temperature and sun have a lot to do with each other. I don't want these plants in the hot, gleaming sun all day long because they will fry. And believe it or not, pea plants don't need that much sun. You can grow them in about 5 to 6 hours of sun, full sun. If you give them 5 to 6 hours, they're going to do great for you. You don't need to give them full sun. Don't give them 8 hours, don't give them 10 hours, because you're going to find that, again, in that fringe period, having them in the full sun during that fringe period is gonna fry these babies. And you're gonna notice that the bottoms are gonna start turning yellow and brown, and that's when they can't uptake water, and it's going to kill the tops off slowly but surely. The tops always seem to get green and the bottoms always seem to get yellow. The reason being is because the plant has a very thin stem. It's not like a plant where as the plant grows, the stem grows as well to adjust for the amount of water uptake. That's not the case with peas. The stem will always be the same diameter. So you have to give it lots of water because it doesn't realize that this plant can't get all that water. So it'll literally kill itself off from the bottom, and then you have a dead plant. Now, last but not least, I'm going to talk about the soil and the pH. When it comes to pH, I like to give them a basic, just a 7.0. I don't go any acidic, I don't go any alkaline. I like to stay right in the middle of the road and give them about a 7.0. Sometimes it can get a little bit acidic just because my soil here tends to be a little bit acidic. So I like to fix that by throwing some compost in at the beginning of the year, and that tends to kind of buffer it out back to neutral again. But when it comes to soil, I cannot stress this enough. Having a loose, well-draining soil is so vital because these things have a very small stem. They need every ounce of root penetration that they can get to take every ounce of water up that they can get. If you have hard soil, you're going to be dealing with about a 1-foot plant that will never fruit and is probably going to die before it gets any fruit. These, I grow them in pure compost, and then I've also amended it with sand. A lot like I do with my lettuce beds, I give them compost, pure compost, worm castings, and sand, and that's all I grow them in. And then that way, I can be assured that the roots are going to go straight down. And one way you can tell that if your soil is loose enough is if you can take your finger and barely push and work your way down in the soil, and if you are applying a whole lot of effort and it hurts your hand, your soil is a little bit too hard. I like to be able to take my hand and basically just work it right down in the soil and get about 3 or 4 inches before I hit anything at all, even remotely hard. So that's what I do for my beds. So that's just about it for growing peas. They're not very difficult at all. I find that they're pretty easy to grow once you grow them a few times and kind of get the hang of that fringe period, because it's very difficult to get a really decent harvest, and it does depend on the year too. I must admit, it does depend on the year, simply because you always have temperature variances that change. Sometimes you have colder springs, sometimes you have hot, more warm springs. So those temperature variances are always, changing by year. But I find that by using the methods that I've talked about in this episode, I can pretty much guarantee I'm going to get fruit. I don't think I've ever had a year that I haven't gotten fruit, but some years it's more or less just based on the amounts that I get. So yeah, that's it for this growing guide. Hopefully you enjoyed, and if you did, please let me know on any of my social media feeds. I love knowing what you guys learn. Post in the comments box below if you have any comments, questions, or concerns that I have not answered. I'd be glad to answer them for you. And as always, this is MIgardener reminding you to grow big or go home. And I'll talk to you all later. I'll see you on Monday's episode, and I'll talk to you all later. See ya. Bye.